Good morning, sweethearts. How y'all doing? Enjoying the waves? You're gonna find there's a lot of confusion in the atmosphere. There is in the collective, let me restate that. There's a lot of confusion coming up. There's a lot of misconceptions being present. There's a lot of mixed feelings being present. And this is that ripping of the veil. Now, a lot of it's really helpful, guys, to understand this. There are many guides and ascended masters and those of us present here now. Each of you, how y'all doing, Jenna, Paulo, Deborah, Ellen, Jenny, and everyone else? Big hugs and blessings, sweetheart. Shell. Got my first cup of coffee. Shell, I do too. I just got my first cup of coffee too. I just came in from outside. It was a beautiful, we had a storm come in last night, totally unexpected. And that shows you that a huge collective purging occurred. And the collective is what controls, if you will, the weather. Now, let's look at the contrast of that. You want to know what's coming. Your emotions will dictate your future. How you handle the emotions coming up within yourself and how you handle them or react, respond to others. And as this veil is ripped, and this is where a lot of the confusion comes in. Now you're going to have ascended masters are guardians of frequencies. And as you evolve in frequencies, just as the earth changed guardianship, if you will, so too do your guides change. This is where you find yourselves, many of you, in a space of confusion because guides that ascended masters, beings that have guided you along your way, you don't seem to resonate with anymore. Or you're in a space of bouncing back and forth, of resonating with what they say or not resonating with you say. Now there are some embodied ascended masters that guard certain frequencies that will guide you to step up to and into your ascended mastery. They were with you in the beginning of your journey and now they're starting to fall away. And they are then replaced with the new frequency guardians that you have evolved yourself to. Now, where a lot of this clearing that's coming in with this bolt of light that has come in, this is where a lot of this confusion in the collective is coming in. And the whole purpose of your journey, and remember, your journey of ascension and awakening is over at your highest level aspect. Now, maybe you're in between frequency level aspects or your lower frequency aspects has not fully cleared some energetic imprints in there, and that's where you see the bouncing back in the confusion. Now, you're going to find, because this bolt started coming in, now you're going to find, sweethearts, that this afternoon, if you are not already feeling it, Richard says tough night. For today and tomorrow, it's going to peak, guys. It's going to show you where you're still following channelings, energies, masters, this, that, and the other that you no longer need. It's going to show you where you are still holding misconceptions within yourself. It's what is coming up and arising is where you are still attached to guidance, this and that, outside of you. Now remember, the veils, you're awakened, you're ascended. The veils within yourself are now coming up to challenge you. And that's a beautiful, beautiful, magical thing. It is a new moon today. The new moon was yesterday morning, Matthew. The energies of the new moon you were going to be feeling for a while. And this is where you're seeing, you know, this is where we say stand in peace, stand in calm. Now, I write codes and I post stuff and I speak to a select group. I speak to the elders that carry the parental seeds. And this is where a lot of people come in, and, you know, and this is where you have to learn to stand in your truth. And I'm not saying your truth and my truth is any different. What I'm saying when I say stand in your power, stand in your truth, I speak of the truth of what Spirit shows you. Now, it's also helpful to understand, sweethearts, the higher in frequency you allow yourself to evolve to, the more you allow this paradigm, timeline, dimension with timelines and paradigms in it of good and evil. It's a choice to leave those mind processes. It's an individual choice in every breath we take to choose to leave the duality experiment of good and evil. And when you can observe, especially right now, as the veils within yourself are coming off at a more substantially rapid rate and showing each of us, and when you can observe, you're going to, especially now, you're going to see the duality within yourself, more so than you have ever seen this duality. But the key of this whole thing, guys, truly, is not to listen to anyone outside of you, to live by what Spirit is showing you within. And this cannot be repeated enough. And you don't need me to tell you, I'm just sitting here speaking for the collective. Come 1/1/19. If you are not listening and following the light within yourself, if you are still hanging on to anything I say or anyone else says to be gospel, you are putting yourself on a pedestal of worship that is going to knock you right off of it. You're going to find yourself in a space where you're going to keep yourself in a space where you're going to keep striving to be awakened, striving to be ascended. And right now you're being presented with multiple opportunities to step outside of the personality of Sabal, Matthew, Bo, John, Richard, Jenny, who else? Caroline, Rochelle, Linda, Nicole. And this is really a huge quantum leap individually if you choose to step outside of the personality of your vessel and choose to see beyond your own veils. Now, it's really hard for the logical mind to comprehend and see the subtle changes of the choices you're individually making. Whether those are choices that you're making in dream time in front of the council, if those are dream times, because see, the conscious mind doesn't know is not aware of what your soul chooses in front of the council in your dream time. In the many of the councils, because your soul does never work alone. It's only the human that works alone. It's only the human that thinks it has to be perfect. Because your soul knows, sweethearts, you're already perfect. Perfection is just as beauty in the eyes of the beholder. What eyes are you seeing beauty and perfection from? Because that will bring you a lot of awareness. When you see perfection and you see anything and everything and anyone and everyone as perfection, then your physical eyesight has to morph and transform to that perfection. However, if you are attaching to the perfection, or rather the imperfection of your human eyesight, then you will continue struggling and be confused, and will consistently continue to experience confusion in your outside presentation, because you're choosing to see through the eyes of the distorted, filtered veils, rather than the perfection of all that you are. You are edge walker. Oh, honey, I'm a walker between worlds. You know, that's why so many on your journeys, many of you come to me, then you leave, and then you come back into my presence, and then you leave. Well, she's light. Well, she's dark. Well, she's light. Well, she's dark. It's really helpful to understand, and overstand. You can't have one without the other. And me, I weave the two together into the now. I bring, as much as I am one of the very original elders, I'm also one of the youngest souls, because I bring wisdom and information from the future back to the now with coding, and I bring in the ancient wisdom from the ancient past, it's coding, and I bring it in and I weave the two together into the now. And that is my role. Each one of your guys' roles is different. And this is where, when you stop allowing yourself to follow any ascended master outside of yourself, it's okay to come and ask for clarity. It's okay if you're guided by your spirit to come into my presence, to come into somebody else's presence. But when you're doing it from the imperfection of the ego, you're not listening to your guides. You're listening to your ego. And you're wanting someone to give you the answers rather than you seeking the answers within. And the more you stop allowing yourselves to research, if that's what you still need, guys, use it. You know, we're here to encourage you. And you will always hear me encourage you. Go within. Validate anything and everything. Because the next 6 months is going to step up and increase in your mastery. What do I mean by mastery? I don't mean mastery of of downloading this information, getting on live videos, and putting it out there. Who is we, Matthew? Who is we? We, me, you, they, them, us is all part of the distortion. But it's part of a distortion of your journeys to bring you back to the I. Not the I of the ego, but the I of the self, the whole. What humanity has been enslaved under is that I is a singularity. That one is a singularity. And that's the contrast you have to embrace. I is a singularity in the lower frequencies. It is referred to as self. The lower aspect of self. I in the frequency of we is I of the whole. Now where we come in, Matthew, now we comes in from many different angles, sweethearts. And we is us as a collective whole as I. That there is nothing and no thing outside of us, that 7.8 billion souls are the divinity, the sovereignty, and the perfection and the holiness of all that we as a whole collective are. I know what you're asking me, Matthew. I see between the words. I see your guys' energy. I am asking you who your we is. That right there, Matthew, you're not asking me, you're asking yourself. Because I already know what we is. With you saying I am a shaman and I am asking you who your we is, you're seeing that through a veil of separation. Because there is no yours and there is no mine. There's only a whole. And that's what this ripping of the veil and this bolt of lightning coming in, that's exactly what I was saying earlier. That is showing you where you keep holding your individual self in separation. Where it is still a duality thought process of your truth and my truth. There is no your truth and my truth. There is frequencies of truth, because the higher you evolve your frequency within your vessel, you always come into deeper truth and deeper clarity to the frequency of what you have risen yourself to. And it is the energy of the new moon. It is the energy of many, many things. The new moon is bringing in the energy of new beginnings. The new moon is bringing in that which you have already planted seeds for within. But it's not the new moon energies that are influencing right now. Right now, it's the energies of Aries, of Mars in Aquarius moving into Aquarius, and Uranus moving into Taurus. And that's a beautiful thing. And this is going to create change for the next 7 years. And you're going to see this week, the next couple days are going to be extremely, extremely intense. An intenseness of purging. And it is going to give you, each of us, opportunity to see where we, us, you, them, me, is still in separation of I, the whole. This is where you're going to see where you still hold judgments to the outside world that no longer exists, that is trying to fall away and is only being kept in place from the judgments, the beliefs, and the frequencies you hold. And this is where you're really going to see, sweethearts. If you attach to a thought, any thought, good, bad, or indifferent, that manifestation has been amped up even more so to become instant within your realities. This is where you're going to see this separation of the collective consciousnesses of the lower frequency timelines and the higher frequency timelines. This is where you're going to see in your families, in your communities, in your groups, a lot of ego releasing, if you will. And what I mean by that is, this is where you're going to start seeing people stand up and think it's standing in their power. Well, if you don't like what I say, get the fuck out. You don't like what I say, fall away. You know? And even myself, I've said it, but I never said it from an ego standpoint. What I said the other day when I posted, if you don't care for what I say, there's an unfriend button and an unfollow button. And I say that for a purpose. And it goes back to what I stated at the very beginning of this video. You will find you have guardians and guides that are here to assist you as you journey along, that they guard certain frequencies, certain wisdom, certain symbols, certain codes. And you will find you will fall away, or you will be presented with new. Now, a few months ago, well, probably more than a few months ago, time is of no essence to me, me and many others posted about how you're going to go from one set of guardians to another, that you are being given 2 new galactic guides. Sirian, Arcturian, and Andromedan are the most prevalent new guides that you're getting. What am I feeling, Matthew? I am truly in a space of absolute peace. Peace like I've never felt before. Peace, awe, wonderment. That just continues to grow for me. That's how I'm feeling, sweetheart. It's really hard to knock me off of my balance anymore. To me, the outside world has become extremely comedic. And this is where many of you are seeing this too within yourself. Now you're starting to see through the veils. Now you're starting to laugh at the outside world. And what I mean by that, and that's not saying that none of everything that's going on is not real. Because to the human aspect, it is real. But now you're coming into more evolved states of frequency, where now you're starting to laugh through it. Now you're starting to see through it from a whole lot of multidimensional angles of lenses. And this is where you're really going to find yourselves laughing at how you have trapped yourself in thought processes and how it has kept repeating its cycles within you. And that's a beautiful thing, because truly you're removing your own veils within yourself. Rachel, my husband has been lashing out aggressively and with childish ego that I cannot seem to break through. His spiritual eyes are not open, he can't see, and I've had to let him go. I never thought it would happen. And that's occurring for many. And Rachel, if I may, beautiful, give you another lens of perception, if you will, on that. The masculine, alright, give me the right words, Father. The masculine are where the focus has been on rising of the feminine. The last, we went through the feminine rising, the feminine being cleansed, the feminine having to go through all this. The feminine had to embrace her masculine. Right now, the masculine, we've come out of Chiron Chiron being the wounded healer. We've come out of that out being in Pisces, which was all the feminine essence within the masculine and the feminine. Now we're coming into a space of Chiron has now moved into the masculine. So Rachel, where you say, my husband has been lashing out aggressively and with childish ego. The masculine is all ego in the lower frequencies. The masculine is all ego within all of us. We're not talking just the outside physical vessels. And so this is where I think John Ravenwolf earlier said something that it scrolled by too fast that I didn't see it, but I'm scrolling back. Let me see. I'm trying to go back and scroll through this. Well, it's too far back there, but this is where you will see that the ego of the masculine vessels is coming up. So Rachel, where you say my husband lashed out and it's all ego, that is what is breaking through that. It's not for you to get him to break through it. It's not for me to sit here and I'm just here sharing my own journey and how I broke through all those veils. And You know, we're all shamans. We're all ascended masters. We're all powerful. It's just a matter of you embracing it. And you will embrace it when you're fully ready to embrace it. And this is, you had to let him go. And you never thought that would happen, Rachel. You will find that some people you have to let go, they'll fall away, and some you'll come back to, and some you'll move on from. But when you look at it as not a blame thing, in the sense that his spiritual eyes are not open, he can't see, and I've had to let him go. That statement in and of itself is a judgment that Spirit is giving you opportunity to observe, sweetheart. Because your higher self knows that your husband played a huge role for you. And that you have played a huge role for your husband. And if you've had to let each other go, then it's because you two have completed your soul contract of playing those roles for each other. It's not because his spiritual eyes aren't open and yours are, or this, that, and the other. That's something that Spirit is presenting you to become aware of where there is judgment, that you're still judging the illusion. You're still attaching belief to the illusion outside of you. I'm trying to catch up on these guys. Matthew, this is a rough time, as you say, with everyone. You wouldn't have said this unless you are feeling this is a rough patch as well. Share your story, connect. And Matthew, that's a judgment on your part, sweetheart. Truly, that's a judgment on your part. I'm coming from a space of outside of the veils. There are many of us in higher frequencies that are going with this shift, that will go into a more peaceful, more harmonious, more abundant, more calm space of being. And the higher in frequency you go, the more you detach from the illusion. Yes, it is very rough for many. For those who still hold veils within themselves, absolutely. It's very rough. For me, it's not rough. I go through intense energies, but for me, it's not rough. So, for you to say, share my story and connect, I am sharing my story, Matthew, because I've stepped outside of stories. It's not my story. It's our story. And each one of us are a piece of that story. I share my story every moment, every post I make, every video I do, I share my story. Because my story is my presence. It's not the story. There is no story. Because story is attached to thought. And nothing is real until you attach thought to it. So there is no my story and your story, Matthew. Because all of us together are just different aspects, going through different energies, going through different timelines, going through different emotions, going through different veils until we choose to step out of the story. I've stepped out of the story, sweetheart. So, I'm sharing me, us, you, they, them, I. It's all one and the same to me. You know? Savis, if you are energy conscious, can you use that energy for healing? Yes, you can. However, energy consciousness is going to be defined by the frequency you hold. So if you've just awakened and you've only been on your awakening journey and you understand that everything is energy, energy out is energy back, but yet you truly don't understand the dynamics of energy and how it applies to all aspects of universal law, how it applies to all aspects of your blueprint, then you're not in full energy consciousness, and any healing you do is going to be distorted. Any energy healing anybody does is going to be, all right, let me restate this. Let me give an example. In the beginning of my journey, I was very well aware of energy consciousness. I learned energy from the backwards way. I learned energy from how it affects from the blueprint of our DNA upwards. The majority of us have to, on the journey, have to learn it from backwards, if you will. Or as you guys rise your consciousness up and awaken to your consciousness, I had to dumb my consciousness down. I did it the back way. And so I had to bring the wisdom in versus awakening to the wisdom. And so in the beginning of your journey, before you fully awakening, you don't understand the dynamics. And you're self-taught healers as you go along on your journey. And you're this and you're that. That energy healing that is done through filters of distortion. So you go to, if you're a little bit energy conscious, you're not fully on into your journey and you have not fully reached the highest frequency aspect of yourself, and you are doing healing, and this is, you see this a lot. You see people who have not cleared their own trauma that are becoming Reiki masters and doing energy work on people. What they're not understanding is that as long as you have energy blockages and you go to do energy work for another, on another, to another, you are sending your karmic distortions out and taking their karmic distortions on. And so, me personally, and I've encouraged everybody for the past 6 years on this, nobody needs your healing. As long as you do energy healing, it's because you see something wrong. You see something broken. You see someone broken. You see someone unhealed. Which means you should be focusing on yourself. Because what you see in another exists in you. Because not only to the individual awakening on their journey, but once you come into and break through your own veils. See, on the journey, you guys pierce through your veils and everything is distorted. Everything seems mean and angry and horrible and traumatic and this, that, and the other. But the higher in frequency you go, the more you evolve yourself, you come to see the perfection in everything and anything. So as long as you're still, as Savas, as you say, conscious of energy healing and do healing, you're only trying to heal yourself outside of yourself. So we don't need energy healers, guys. Now, on some timelines and some frequencies, yeah, you guys are still in that space where you need that, and that's perfectly okay. But in your natural perfected state, which I encourage, that's what I do. I encourage you guys to see through your own veils, to see the perfection and divinity and holiness and purity and sovereignty in everyone, to see through their personalities, to make it impersonal. Because as long as you do not see perfection, as long as you, the individual, do not see God in all things, including that which you label a rapist, that which you label as a murderer, that which you label as a pedophile, that which you label as corrupt, that which you label as dark, that which you label as cabal. If you cannot find the perfection of the experience in good and evil, you will not allow your soul and your vessel to ascend on the physical plane of existence. Because that was what you chose to come here for, was to experience good and evil and to acquire that knowledge, to put it into the living library of the experience of your soul, to put it in your what do they call those things at the bank, those boxes? Your safety deposit box, if you will. And there are 7 ascended masters in this planet with super consciousness. Well, there's more than 7 of us, Savas. There's a lot more than 7 of us in super consciousness here. Rachel, I just didn't want to let him go, but it's toxic. Rachel, sweetheart, can we rephrase that for you? I just didn't want to let him go. You didn't want to let yourself go. But it's toxic. So, again, Spirit is showing you, beautiful. What part of yourself was toxic that you chose to let go of that you're not recognizing? Because it has nothing to do with him. He is just you. Take his face off and put your face on there and say, okay, Spirit, show me to myself. Reveal me to myself why I chose this particular role, why I chose this particular being known and labeled and defined as my husband. What was he trying to show me that was toxic of myself that I chose to release? Allow yourself to see the gift that you've given yourself rather than labeling it to the storyline and character that was presented. John, vivid dreams, severe pain, and energy loss in periods, but in a state of peace. John had a dream. That was John Bailey I just read. John Bailey had a dream yesterday, I think it was, that he posted something about. Your dreams are becoming more lucid and more vivid. And because you're collapsing veils, you're collapsing timelines, you're collapsing things in your dreams. And you do a lot of work in your dream time, so you're not having to physically go through the physical experience in your waking state on your journeys. And they hold clues, but just as you can, as individually on our journeys, we cannot take things personal. You have to be able to see through the physical presentation. So too do you in your dreams. Because remember, you're living a life, guys. We are living a life, each one of us, simultaneously. And I made a post about this yesterday morning. You have a cube within you, which is your soul blueprint. Mother, father, son, daughter. Yeshua, Mary, Jade, Sarah. And then you have the outside cube of husband, wife, brother, sister. And this cube is moving in and moving out, kind of like it's a Pinocchio. That joke, lie to me, baby, lie. His nose grows and then it comes back, and it grows and comes back. Liking it like that. Because you go through every aspect. In every given moment, you're living 16 parallel universal lives. Well, actually, you're living more. But that's the basic foundation of the cube you're living. And you're intersecting dream time, waking state. That's why you fluctuate through emotions and wisdom and this, that, and the other. Because that's integration of all of your lenses of perception. That which is conscious and that which is not conscious. And the masculine is going through a huge integration right now. The masculine incarnates and also the masculine essence within the feminine too. And I'm trying to catch up on what you guys are saying here. I feel I can see the duality more often in the moment. I don't know how to do this all the time, but I'm consciously choosing. And that's okay, Rihanna, because you do know how to do this all the time. It's the human mind that doesn't. And that's what you're expanding. That's what expanding or awakening is all about, is overriding the mind to expand it to where you're not just seeing the lens of the personality that you chose to incarnate into, or the pink skin, or the yellow skin, or the black skin, or the wealthy family, or the poor family, the homeless. It's to release all the labels, to allow yourself to release all the definitions, and only see it for what it is. And this is where what Savas asked earlier about energy healing, energy consciousness. We're here for a purpose, and every one of our purposes right now are here to be the observer, to observe the good and evil energetic template, to see it for what it is, and to transform it into what it can be and what we know it to be in all truth. That which is divine, that which is unified, that which is whole, that which is peace, that which is harmony, that which is love. And this includes releasing the labels and definitions of what the individual labels as good and bad, positive, negative, wise and unwise, mature and unmature, dark and light. And when you can release all those labels and those definitions and those storylines within you, when you can release the storylines that it's my truth and your truth, my story and your story, and you allow yourself to come into the full consciousness of the whole, that it's never been about the character roles that are labeled Linda, Sharon, Rihanna, John, Michael, Mark, Luke, whatever. You know, so many people, I come on here and I speak. And I speak from, when I say I, people say I'm talking from the ego. When I sit there and say I am Sophia Gaia, I'm speaking from the I of the whole, not the I of Linda. But people can't see beyond my vessel. People can't see beyond the pink skin, the blue eyes, and the red hair. That's the veils. Your veils are your personalities. Your veils are all of that. When you let it go, you come to remove your own veils. And you come to be the observer. You come to be the higher collective consciousness of us all, and you see it for what it is. Yes, I see that distortional energy. I see that judgment within myself. I see it, and you neutralize it. You don't attach new judgment to it. You don't attach new emotion. Just like in my video the other day, I was describing in the beginning of my journey, you know, all these people would come at me telling me I'm wrong, I'm too far in the future, this, that, and the other. And for me, for my human, I would get frustrated. That's the ego. And I would sit there and I would call them wannabes, because I was in the understanding, but my vessel wasn't at the frequency of that understanding to fully understand the deeper clarity and the deeper truth of that wisdom I held. And so, you know, and I stated on my video, that's a judgment. I'm aware of that judgment. I forgive myself and I don't judge it. Because that was a judgment that I held in the beginning of my journey as I was trying to integrate my wisdom from when the whole, walked into this particular vessel labeled as Linda. And so that's what I mean by that. So what does Matthew here say? Good morning, Joe. Good morning, sweethearts. A person on the moon talking to a person on Earth is not a bringing together of either. Are you suggesting you were on the moon? And see, Matthew, Spirit's showing you something, because you're making this about me. It has nothing to do with me, Matthew. So, for me to answer that question, well, I'm not going to give you the answer that you want, Matthew, because you're questioning your own veils here and pretending it's me that you're questioning. So, are you suggesting you are on the moon? I know you are not, but to be relevant, you must share that story. I knew someone once who wanted to help. She handed out blankets to the homeless on a cold night. One came to her and she handed him a blanket. This man asked him where her family was, her kids. She said, safe, home, and warm. What she didn't see was he was asking her why he wasn't safe, home, warm, and with his family. And I understand that too, Matthew. However, some answers you can only find within. You don't need someone outside to tell you. And you're going to find I will consistently come back and say the same thing. So I don't need anything to be relevant. The world doesn't need the globe. Each one of you don't need anything to be relevant, because relevancy is an individual veil. What is relevant to you right now, this moment, is not going to be relevant to you, say, in a week. So again, sweethearts, observe thyself. Because everything that you say, everything that we do, everything that you're either doing it from a space of seeking information, or you're doing it from a space of wholeness that is already perfect. And that's the fence that we're being provided with. And so everything, Matthew, you are on a raft. On this raft, your feet dangling in the water. You filled the cold water within. There is no steering of this raft. Matthew, you make me giggle. As you are on the raft, you are also on the edge of the river, watching yourself on the raft. At the moment, you are in two places at once. The perfection comes from the lack of defining. Absolutely. But I'm not on two rafts. I'm on 7.8 billion rafts. So, and to me, all the rafts are beautiful. Whether that raft is sinking, or whether that raft is being blown up too much, whether that raft is going through rapids, or whether it's sitting on the edge of the river, or whether it's going through calm waters. I'm 7.8 billion rafts. I'm not a singular. I'm a whole. So to me, it's all beautiful. Chaos to me is beautiful. I find the magic in chaos. And, you know, and if anybody, Matthew, you have just crossed my awareness. You and I have not been in each other's awarenesses before. Always for a divine purpose. However, those who have been in my presence, Matthew, know, have inner knowing and understanding of how I operate and how I work, and that I don't work in duality. Okay, Jenny, so true to release my child abuse experience after years of holding my self-imposed victim energies was truly liberating. And it really is, guys. It really, truly, truly is. And there is no definitions. It's only the human vessel that gives definitions to anything. And that is the personality that we, as you individually evolve into your highest consciousness, you come to understand that Bo, Kelly, Linda, Matthew, Deborah, none of us exist as the personality. And that's the veils. That when you cross each other's presence, when you can see yourself, that's the veils that you pierce through. That just because a pink-skinned, emerald-eye, red-headed sits here and says that I am this, she's not talking of a label. She's talking of an energy. And on the journey, that's where you see, well, you're not like Archangel Michael. Well, you aren't Mary Magdalene, because that's the ego's levels that they have to pierce through. Well, you're not this ascended master, because I am. And what you are coming to understand, that you are all ascended masters. You're an essence of every one of the ascended masters before you, and you're an essence of every ascended master that comes after you. You have all been a rapist, a murderer, a pedophile, an abuser. You have all been the worst of the worst in the glory of the Most High. We are all things. And as long as there's a veil that says, excuse me, well, I would never do such a horrible thing. This isn't your first rodeo, guys. We have lived every aspect of good and evil. Every single one of us. Whether this life or a past life or a future past life that we came from. And that is the veils. And when you get tired of playing in the frequencies of good and evil, you will transcend that storyline and all the storylines of frequency within it. Deborah, if there is someone toxic in your life, are you saying that once we find what is toxic in us, then it will leave? Deborah Chapman Malinovsky, did I say that right? Beautiful? That's exactly what I'm saying. Because everything is a frequency, including good and evil. Everything is a frequency. And you can change the frequency of your existence in one breath and one thought. You just have to master your mind and master your emotions. Everything is a thought. Matthew, you just tickle me. I'm finding we must be very mindful of our words and thoughts we are creating all the time. Instant manifestation. Absolutely. You know, it's only the human. It's not our soul. It's not our spirit that labels anything. Because our true nature, guys, our soul, our spirit, is in full understanding, and overstanding that truly love is. It's good, bad, negative, positive, black, white, dark. You know, love is the darkest of the dark and the lightest of the light and everything in between. And when we stop using labels and words and definitions and characters and stories to keep us separated, you remove the veils. Matthew, thank you. We of the I are truly beautiful and magical. Truly, we are. Even though it seems like the world is in chaos and turbulence. And guys, don't take that as I'm not compassionate about what all of us on the human aspect are going through. Because I'm very compassionate. But I'm one of these, and this is where the uncompassionate, why everybody says that I'm mean and I'm dark and I'm uncompassionate, this, that, and the other. I'm not attached to the love of for the mortal world. That's the veils. Is learning to stop loving the mortal world of good and evil and start loving yourself back to your natural state of being. So where it seems I'm detached and I'm not compassionate about the evil and shit that goes on in the outside world, to me, I don't attach emotion to it. I don't give it that kind of control. And I see through it. I see the purpose of those experiences. So it's not that I'm uncompassionate. I just don't play and will not play. And anybody who comes to me for guidance will tell you this. I am a very hard guide. Because I don't feed into the victimization. And I will consistently interrupt you when you come to me for guidance and you keep attaching to the stories and the characters. I will keep stopping you from keep recreating that by continuously talking about it, dwelling in it, and being miserable over it. I'm a very hard guy to work with. And it's not that I'm not compassionate to your emotions, but your emotions are not who you are. Your feelings. There's a difference between emotions and feelings. Emotions are from the ego mind programming. Feelings come from your heart. And so Manuel Angel Vega Paredes. I think I said that right. I believe you're speaking in French or something to me, sweetheart. In my phone, the comments do not translate it. So, sweetheart, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just not fluent in French. At least not my human vessel is not. Download that for me, please. See, you don't need to learn anything, guys. When you come into your higher frequency yourself, you don't need to research anything you don't know. You don't have to do any of that, because that's distorted all through man-made filters, you know. And you can literally ask yourself, your team, spirit, whatever label you need to give it. Literally, that's all you have to do is exactly. And I don't even have to look up. For me, I just do that. That's habit, because they're all standing right next to us. But you know, okay, spirit, download this information to me, please. And then you will be guided. So, Bo, the key is to love yourself. What we are inside, we reflect outside. Absolutely. And you're always going to be presented on the outside, guys, experiences through others. Remember, they're playing a role for you. Whether that other outside the role they're playing is labeled a son, a daughter, a child, a thug, an enemy, a stranger, a postman, a husband, a wife, a mother, a father, an aunt, an uncle, a friend, a secret love affair. You know, whatever label you give to the character, the story, the storyline in and of itself. And, you know, all right, Matthew, what's Matthew? He just tickles me. If you were given a choice between 4 different energies, let's say colors, where yellow is the nurturer, green is a scientist, a blue is a salesman, and a red is a visionary, which color is your primary? Well, Matthew, again, you're trying to put me into a category of separation. I am all colors. And to answer your own question, Matthew, why don't you go on my page, sweetheart? Why don't you go look at my featured profile picture? Not my profile picture, the featured. That was at the very beginning of my journey when I walked in, Matthew. So, again, you're asking me a question to put me in a space of separation, and really what you're doing is you're trying to test me, Matthew. I can see right through you, sweetheart. So again, I encourage you to go look in the mirror and see what Spirit's trying to show you. Because whether you can see that or not, Matthew, you're revealing yourself to yourself. And I truly, sweetheart, will not allow you to try and pull me into a space of separation. And that's what you're trying to do. And anybody who sits there and questions like that, truly, Spirit is showing them something of themselves. They're questioning themselves of where they are still in separation within themselves, because they're still attempting to categorize things into separation. Simple as that. Jenna, I was gasted you, child, in my most recent past life. I recognize I may well have been the one doing the gassing too. And you know, and that we've been Hitler, and we've been the ones Hitler has murdered. We have that consciousness as part of the whole. And the whole is the Akashic Living Library of all of our experiences and knowledge gained from those experiences. And when you come into the wholeness of yourself and you allow yourself to live with no veils, you can literally at any given moment say, okay, you can see multiple timelines in any given moment. And okay, I'm observing this, and I don't care to observe this anymore. I'm going to choose this timeline, and you can allow yourself to leap in a breath, in a change of thought. And so, Matthew, it has been measured scientifically. A negative emotion such as anger, hatred resonates at 200 or below. Anything above is a love-based energy, like hope at 650, love is 800. Then there is peace, which has been measured, which includes both love and fear. Absolutely. But again, it has been measured. Who has it been measured by? It has been measured by a human man or woman, a human vessel. And as long as anything, let me restate that. Clear, cancel, and delete that, Spirit. Thank you. Matthew, I'm going to respond to that like this. Just love. Love without measure. Because love cannot be measured. It's only the human who has to measure anything. Because love just is. To love without measure is our goal. I've never seen any of the qualities in you. You are so kind to me, and like a warm big hug. I love you, Shell. And I've seen every quality in me, Shell. Trust me, I've seen them all. I've had to transcend them all. And again, I've seen the ugliest of the ugliest of the ugliest qualities in my human. But I've also seen the most beautiful qualities. And that's why I can sit here and I can say with every bit of my being that truly everything is perfection, even if to us, the human vessels, see it as imperfection. Truly. And when you come into that space of full awareness, and you can see outside of the limited veils, you truly find the beauty and the magic, and you can truly see the whole story rather than just individual stories. You literally see 7.8 billion souls that reside on this planet. You literally see all of their stories, not only as your own, but you can see how they weave a beautiful, beautiful tapestry of one huge, 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 extraordinary puzzle. So you have on your journeys, we have on our journeys, 7.8 billion miniature puzzles that we have to put together to make a huge, big puzzle. And that is the journey. To find all the pieces and put it all back together, not only in your individual miniature puzzle, but just how each one of 7.8 billion souls fit in. Their little miniature puzzles fit into yours. That makes it a whole. And that's a beautiful thing. And just want to be clear on the difference. On the difference of what, Takia? Where did I miss the first part, or did I answer it for you? Because I'm not able to find what you're referring to. Let's see. Matthew, because I don't have to, I already know you are a sinner. Matthew, you really make me giggle. Truly you do. Thank you for bringing laughter to us this morning. Linda, have you heard of Gabravi? Should I have heard of Gabravi, sweetheart? I love you guys. Matthew, yet love can turn to hate, a fear-based thing and a heartbreak. Only if you allow it. Only if you give it permission. The only way anything can turn to anything is if you give it permission to be. Linda, one of the questions I ask self, if I can choose my beliefs and choose not to believe in darkness, am I deceiving my human self? If you want the wisdom of me, Linda, and you're asking me that, I'm going to answer that yes. Why do I respond with a yes answer to your question, Linda? If I can choose my beliefs and choose not to believe in darkness, am I deceiving my human self? Yes, because your human self is the darkness. Your human self, all darkness is, guys. And this is a huge distortion in the spiritual communities, especially. All darkness is condensed light. And that is your vessel. Your vessel is condensed. And all darkness is all condensed light is lack of information. All light is information. So as these waves of light come in, beautiful, it's bringing information to expand your brain capacity. To expand the mind from, and the mind only using 5% of the human brain, you're allowing your mind to be expanded with the wisdom and the knowledge of all of your past lives and all of your future past lives that you've come back from. And it's to take, and when I say you, I'm talking each one of us, 7.8 billion. Because each one of our experiences, we have that information and that knowledge. So say Bo is a Pleiadian from the future that in the future was a quantum mechanics. And he has all of that wisdom from being a Pleiadian quantum mechanic. So now, Bo, when he remembers, whether that's in meditation, dream time, or just through the light information that's coming into his vessel, and he integrates it and he anchors it in. Now, he has now anchored in that knowledge and wisdom from his future as Pleiadian aspected self, that timeline. He has now brought that information into the physical plane of existence, and now has put it into the Akashic Living Library for each one of us to have access to that knowledge and that wisdom. That is the journey of the individual. To bring in the knowledge and the wisdom from every single one of your past lives and every one of your future lives and your present life. Bring it all in together into this moment right now, to where every single one of us has access. When you come into full conscious awakening awareness, you have access to all that information from 7.81 of us that are fractaled of one whole soul. And that, guys, is miraculous. That is incredible. That is powerful. I'm the White Wolf, Matthew. Nice to see you come wandering back home to the pack, sweetheart. Not quite sure how you popped up with this live stream. We are not friends that I am aware of. By my God, you're truly beautiful. I particularly love how you put back on me. I simply love you too. There's the gray wolf, there's the white wolf, there's the timber wolf, and there's the black wolf. Then that in and of itself, for the wolf tribes, are the 4 elders that maintain that base of the wolf tribes. Welcome home, Matthew. Amy Kraus. Good day. Did I say that right, sweetheart? I hope I did, beautiful. What are your thoughts on merge of the light body with vessel still condensed? That's your journey, sweetheart. Amy, that's what you guys are doing. And that's where Linda's question about darkness, are you running from yourself? Absolutely, because what we're doing, the more light information we take in that is being bathed on this planet, and we integrate it into our vessels. And Amy, you must have just crossed my path. I've spoken on this many times, beautiful. How, if you look at your vessels, maybe you guys can see it on my throat now, I don't know. But if you look at your vessels, you can see where your veins are now starting to be more seen in your hands, in your legs, on your feet. You're getting your veins are showing more because your skin is becoming thinner. The more light you take in, what happens is condensed light, and I'm going to use my fist as an example. Condensed light, when you bring light to it, expands those light particles. This is why so many of you, your visions, you're starting to see. It don't matter if you look at your bed or if you just stare outside the atmosphere, you're starting to see a whole lot of things in light particles. Because everything, including our vessel, is made up of particles. All condensed means is there is no space between all of those particles that are condensed. There's no space. And when light comes in, light expands. And it expands the darkness to where now there's space between my fist and my fingers. It expands. And that's what you're doing with your physical vessels. The more light you bring in and you earth into the ground, that's what we're doing. And that is powerful, guys. Even if you think you're broken and you're unhealed and you have this and you have that, and you know, when you start believing, knowing, faith, whatever label you need to give it, when you come to trust thyself, you come to know thyself. But you're going to have everybody outside of you that's going to push you, that's going to test you, that's going to question you to see if you can stand. And this is what standing in your power means. It doesn't mean standing up and saying, I'm awakened, I'm a he-man, and I'm a she-man. That's our ego. That's the human. But standing in your power truly, truly means that if Spirit gives you something, just like my post yesterday, privately I got a whole lot of grief on that saying, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, I know exactly what I'm talking about. Because I don't... Spirit has never been wrong with me, never. And I live my life according to Spirit. My human needs to go to the grocery store. Spirit, okay, Spirit, when the time is right, you'll provide a way for me to go to the grocery store. And that's it. That's what mastery is living by, truly living by what Spirit gives you, regardless of who questions you, regardless of who pushes you, regardless who tests you, regardless of anything outside of you dictating your emotions, and letting you venture off from living what Spirit has guided you to live. So, what are my thoughts on merge of the light body with vessel still condensed? That's your whole entire journey that has been given the label awakening and ascension. And all it is for each of us to bring in the light and anchor in that wisdom and that knowledge from all of our experiences, so we all have that information, so we don't have to go through the individual experiences of good and evil, continuing to go through those experiences, because together we have experienced, as a whole, we have experienced every aspect of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. No longer do we individually have to continue experiencing it, because now we have the wisdom as a collective and the knowledge as a collective, because we all took on different aspects and experiences to get. That's why there's 7.8 billion of us and not 144,000, because we all chose to get this experiment over so we can go back to the purity and living the purity of all that we are, together, hand in hand. So that's the beauty of all of this. Matthew, I am a shapeshifter. I can shift my energy in a heartbeat. I am very happy you are tickled. It was the intent. We should connect privately. It is rare for me to see a soul like yours. And I am completely honored that for whatever reason you in this live post has popped up. My God, I have no idea how that happened, but we are here now. We are here now, and everything has a divine purpose. And when we are to cross each other's paths and come together, which we are in the process of being on the physical plane, not just ethically or energetically, we are on the physical plane. We are being brought back into our true soul monads together. And because together, the 12 a tribe is an individual being. As our soul monad comes together, and our tribes come together, this is part of the unity process. We're coming together now, each at a frequency of wholeness, to where we can now go together as a group of a monad, which is 12, and the parent, which is 13, to now go out into the physical, tangible place together as a unit and morph the physical presentation of good and evil back to the purity that it is, that we hold within. And that is very powerful, and that is the shift that is now taking place within our vessels. And that is truly where we're going to watch this outside world, and that's the benefit of Uranus coming into Taurus energy, Taurian constellation. The beauty of it is it's going to crumble that which is not holy and pure. And that's for us to just keep holding the knowing as it crumbles that it truly is, and keep our focus on the perfection rather than that which is crumbling away and morphing and transforming. Linda, is it possible that soul, body, and spirit are split? It's only split until you bring them back together. The split, Nicole, the split is the tree of knowledge, the good and evil. So is it possible that soul, body, and spirit are split? Absolutely. And that's your journey to bring them all back together into wholeness, beautiful. And that's what you do. That's what we do. That's what all of us as a whole collective does. As these light comes in, the individual integrates it and releases its veils and its condensed energy and the walls and chains that it has around its heart. And that split is the veils that the individual holds, Nicole. I hope that answered your question. Isn't it funny that a black wolf has no time, a white wolf has all the time in the world, yet a gray wolf just spends time? Well, yes and no. Because, wolves are magical. As much as we are wolves, Matthew, we're also the raven. So we can shapeshift between the two, black wolf and white wolf. And when we can shapeshift between wolf and raven, then we become the timber and the gray wolf. And when we bring the white wolf, the gray wolf, the timber wolf, and the black wolf together, that's when we become the walkers through the worlds. And that's a beautiful thing. Yeah, eternity, guys, in the true spirit of your soul. Eternity is not only all time, but eternity is no time. And it's the dance of all time and no time together that brings you to the space of being all that you are in all the purity, holiness, glory, and perfection. It's not to go with all time and no time. It's to bring that dance together and experience all time, no time, and linear time, body, mind, and spirit. All time, no time, and linear time. And bring it together in a very sensual, intimate, magical dance. And that is the miracle of all that we are. Have a great day, guys. Things are going to get intense as we increase through the day. It's going to increase, and tonight and tomorrow for many will probably be a huge releasing. I have my schedule cleared. If anybody finds themselves in a space where they cannot get themselves grounded or are having trouble getting themselves centered, I really encourage you to spend some time out in the sunlight. I encourage you to drink extra water. I encourage you to ground. And most of all, I encourage you to breathe. Your breath is the Holy Spirit, and your breath will see you through anything. But if you guys are spiraling and you need me, you can message me and I will answer you as quick as I can. And no, let's dance. We got this hand in hand. And as this increases, it's just a matter of being in a space of observing that which is presenting itself, no matter how it presents itself. See it for what it is, guys, and know it for what it can be, and change it to what you know it is in all truth. Because that is the power of us, of we, of I as the whole. I love you guys. Big hugs and blessings. Have a great day. And know you got this. Bye, guys.